Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Tech Talk sponsored by Codesmith, Jeeny, and Bractlet. Today, we have the amazing Nick Echevarria, who is going to talk to us about CI/CD today. Without further ado, passing it on to you, Nick.
Thanks so much, Stanley. I'm really happy to be here today to speak on a subject that I find incredibly interesting. But before I get started, I want to thank Jeany and Bractlet for sponsoring this TED Talk. So today, the topic we're going to be talking about is one that can seem a bit esoteric, but we're going to go ahead and explore a little bit of the art of CI/CD. And by and jumping into this today, we're going to be covering a few really high key or high level components of CI/CD, what it is, parts of a pipeline, of a CI/CD pipeline. We're going to be talking about some examples, benefits of actually implementing CI/CD, and then just some overall tips as well. Tips that will be really helpful in establishing one that can pipeline that can scale. Without further ado, let's jump right into answering the main question of today's talk and exploring it a bit more. Just what is CI/CD? And from a high level, it automates a software delivery process by building code, running tests, and deploying new versions of software. So CI stands for continuous integration, and it's a practice where devs merge code to a central repository as often as possible, consistently validating these new builds with automated tests to ensure the application in question is not broken. So as you see on the screen in front of you, you have the entirety of the software development lifecycle and how it can be broken up into different portions. So at the very beginning, I mean, the classic agile development style of coding has developers coding and building, while CI portion it incentivizes developers to continue coding, committing, and doing so as often as possible. While the CD in this, the continuous delivery, will pick up from where continuous integration left off by deploying code changes to testing and production environments after the build stage. CD can also be confusingly understood as continuous development, which is just, again, one more step ahead, which kind of automates the actual past production, all the tests and all of the different parts of the build prior, the tests that have passed. We can go ahead and move that into production and then put that into, send that over to our customers. So put simply, continuous integration is part of both continuous delivery and continuous deployment. And continuous deployment is analogous to delivery, except that it kind of happens automatically. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and move on over to a bit more of the detail and talk about a little bit of what the parts of this CI/CD pipeline kind of look like. And in front of you, you'll see a number of different sort of stages or parts of the pipeline. But from a high level, we're going to just kind of anchor ourselves first with a definition of what a CI/CD pipeline is. And we're going to go with the specification of the steps a dev should take to deliver a new software release. Now, we can then further subdivide that into three stages: the source stage, the build stage, the test stage, and then we can go ahead and have the deployment afterward. So in the source stage, a pipeline is triggered by a change of code in some sort of target repository. The build stage will combine source code with dependencies to build that runnable instance of the program to ship. And that's usually deployed with a Docker container in a Docker instance. And then within the test stage, an organization will run automated tests to prevent easily reproducible bugs. So that can take from minutes to hours. And these processes are usually parallelized to save time. So this can be, as a small aside, this can take some time, right? And it's important to make sure that you run as many processes and tests in parallel to save time, because we can break down the types of tests we can have here into multiple different stages. One really important stage is sort of the first test that you run, called smoke tests, These are fast, simple, very high-level tests, just to ensure everything still works. And then we can get further up the coding pyramid, the testing pyramid, excuse me, and talk and then integrate and run integration testing, unit testing, and compliance testing as well. Compliance testing in particular, just ensuring that certain policies that the organization has implemented for the project are followed. And then we can kind of finish up with end-to-end testing. But again, end-to-end testing, as we are familiar, can take a lot more time. So it's very important to go bit by bit in the stage. Overall, once all those tests pass, we can go ahead and then push that out from the beta, the dev, or the staging environment over to production environment. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys, everyone watching here, just two examples of what some simple and a slightly more complex pipeline can look like. So as you can see up top, that's just an example of a Go project pipeline. It'll compile the code, it'll check the style, and then it'll run automated tests in parallel jobs, again, to save time. Below it, you'll see another pipeline that builds, tests, and deploys a microservice to a Kubernetes cluster. So generally speaking, using Docker increases the complexity of a CI/CD pipeline by requiring devs to build and upload usually large container images in each code build, but a huge benefit of that is maintaining a consistent environment in which all these tests are run. So overall, the benefits of easy developer onboarding and standardized deployment for many teams really outweighs the cost. And speaking of benefits, we're going to talk about that topic next. When it comes to the CI/CD pipeline, you guys have heard a lot about what it is and how it's sort of set up. And maybe even and also the different parts of it. Let's talk about like what you get out of it, right? Like why is it good for a software development team? Well, for one, developers stay focused on coding due to a very fast feedback loop. There's nothing like the little hit of dopamine when all your tests pass. So now everybody can enjoy that and not worry about actually deploying. In addition, QAs and product stakeholders have easy access to the latest version of the application in question. Product updates aren't stressful anymore. Reduced deployment time is something that the entire organization can take advantage of, right? You can roll back very easily. What are bugs at this point? Because bugs are always caught and addressed before they ever hit the production to customers. We always have detailed logs. And generally speaking, developers have a very easy way to onboard into this new environment when they're new. So you can only really have these benefits though if your CI/CD pipeline is fast, reliable, and accurate. And if that CI/CD pipeline gives feedback within 2 to 3 minutes, you need some sort of feedback. You can't wait an hour for feedback. At that point, it doesn't really help you now, does it? Lastly, this should be scalable, but that's a talk for another time. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some best practices on how to implement your CI/CD pipeline for your project or for your organization. I think very simply, if there's a problem in your master, fix it ASAP, because then your CI/CD pipeline will stop and you'll have a lot of commits sort of backed up. Run those fast first fundamental tests. They call them sanity checks. And if you can everybody's on the same page, that the application still works, coding and developer morale generally it will stay high. We want to always maintain those same exact environments, like I mentioned, to maintain the consistency in our tests and in the code that we're creating. We want to build in that quality checking and peer review each pull request. The CI/CD does not replace diligent code reviews. So we want to have the CI/CD pipeline concern itself with pull requests, but then also still involve the actual engineers to conduct those peer reviews. And then at the end of it, I think probably one of the most important things, you want to make sure the pipeline, the CI/CD pipeline that you create is the only way to deploy the production. If you get lax here, you're going to pay the price a little later with bugs that you could have easily have caught. So with that, I want to wrap up this tech talk here. I really enjoyed, again, talking a lot about this about this topic. And you can please connect with me by scanning this QR code and heading over to my LinkedIn. Thanks so much, and I'll pass it back to Stanley to close it on out.
Thank you, Nick, for that wonderful and amazing tech talk on CI/CD. A thank you to everyone that took the time out of their schedule to make it to the tech talk today as well. We hope to see you at the next one. Bye.